Is your sense from being around Brighton that actually they are almost future-proof, that they are so far ahead of the game, they can predict when the players are going to leave, and as much as there's any guarantee, be ready? I assume the replacement for Moises Caicedo they didn't start discussing it on Monday. They probably discussing it last summer.
Exactly. Listen, there are no guarantees, and I hear a lot that the clubs that you reference now, and you look the way they've both fallen, Leicester and Southampton, who went through this process. The only thing I would say, and the key to it, is really they didn't have Tony Bloom. He's the key to this. They didn't have his data model. They didn't have his foresight. This is a fan of the club with very deep pockets, a lifelong fan. He isn't going anywhere. He'll be around for a long, long time to come. So I think that's the key to it. Of course, it gets progressively harder because the higher you go, the more chance there is of clubs, as we've seen, big clubs taking your best players, and then to keep that progression becomes more difficult. I think it's particularly difficult this summer because they've lost Caicedo, let's face it, for a club British record fee, 115 million. There's no way a club like Brighton can turn that sort of money down. But they've lost him on the back of also losing Alexis McAllister. Now, that was the double pivot in midfield last season that worked extraordinarily well for them. So perhaps the difference this time, which makes it that bit harder for them, is that they've lost two really key players in the same department of the team. But as you indicated there, it's not like this came as a surprise to them. They signed a young lad called Yassin Ayari in the January window, a very good example of their forward planning. He's only 19. He's not really ready yet, but he's one for the future. They signed Billy Gilmore last season. There's a good chance for Billy now because Caicedo and McAllister were blocking his path. They've still got Pascal Gross, who's now entering his 7th season. And they signed Mahmoud Dahoud on a free transfer from Borussia Dortmund. So it was an all-German combination in there on Saturday against Luton. Dahoud, if you look at when he was at Dortmund, was a really highly rated player, lost his way a bit. So there's a chance for him to get his career back on track. And the plan is to bring another midfielder in before the window shuts.